Let's be honest, what's the first thing you reach for when you wake up? And the last thing you see before you fall asleep? For most of us, it's our smartphone. It's become our constant companion. But what is that companionship actually doing to our minds, our relationships, and our well-being? In this explainer, we're pulling together the latest research to give you a full lifespan review of our relationship with these incredible and incredibly complicated devices. It all boils down to this central, kind of weird paradox of our time, doesn't it? We have these devices that promise us endless connection to anyone, anywhere, and yet they can somehow leave us feeling more isolated than ever. You know the scene, a table full of people at a restaurant, all physically together, but each one lost in their own little glowing world. That's what we're diving into. Okay, before we get into the weeds, I want to put a really important frame around this conversation. We're going to be talking about findings related to gender, age, and different societal groups. Now, it is absolutely crucial to remember that this is all based on large-scale research that looks for patterns and connections. Social science is all about identifying these general trends or social norms. But, and this is a big but, people and societies are incredibly complex. What we're discussing are generalizations, not hard and fast rules that apply to every single person. So as we go through this, I really encourage you to do your own thinking, your own research, and figure out which pieces of this information are most helpful for you. So here's our game plan for today. We're going to look at how our brains are, well, under fire from this constant digital input. Then we'll explore how that can lead to an epidemic of unhappiness. From there, we'll unpack the great digital divides, because this stuff doesn't affect everyone the same way. And finally, we'll talk about the big one, reclaiming our attention. All right, let's start at the very foundation. What is all this screen time actually doing to the physical structure of our brains? This is especially critical during those super vulnerable years of childhood and adolescence, when the brain is literally building the pathways it's going to use for the rest of its life. You know, the early teenage brain is basically the perfect storm for social media addiction. You've got the emotional reward-seeking part, the limbic system, which is firing on all cylinders. It's screaming, I want likes, I want validation, I want it now. But the rational impulse control center, the prefrontal cortex, is still under construction. It's like the gas pedal is floored, but the brakes haven't been fully installed yet. This gap makes teens incredibly sensitive to social feedback and way less able to resist the compulsive loops these platforms are literally designed to create. And the cognitive effects, they're not just theories. They are measurable and, frankly, pretty stunning. Research has shown a 23% reduction in vocabulary growth among preteens who are heavy social media users. Just let that sink in for a second. The hours they spend scrolling are directly taking away from things like reading books or having deep face-to-face conversations, the very activities that build a rich vocabulary. And it doesn't just stop with vocabulary. We're seeing a similar hit to reading comprehension, a 15% drop for preteens, even with just moderate use. Their ability to sit down, follow a complex story, and just focus is being worn down by the constant, jumpy, context-switching nature of a social media feed. So here's the crucial takeaway from all this. This isn't just about a temporary distraction that goes away when you put the phone down. For a young, developing brain, this constant, rapid-fire stimulation can carve out neurological patterns of distraction, patterns of shallow thinking that might just stick around for a lifetime. So these changes happening inside our brains don't exist in a vacuum, right? They directly fuel the widespread emotional consequences we're seeing all around us, creating what a lot of researchers are now calling an epidemic of unhappiness. The data here is, well, it's really clear, and it's deeply concerning. Heavy smartphone use, especially when it starts early, is strongly linked to this whole cascade of serious mental health challenges. We're talking about everything from a constant sense of low self-worth, fueled by impossible social comparisons, all the way to a tragic rise in suicidal thoughts and self-harm, particularly among teenagers. Now this chart, this really visualizes something fascinating. There's a stark gender gap here. While everyone is affected, late teen girls who are high users of social media face a risk of depression that is a staggering 2.5 times higher than their male peers. 2.5 times. That's not a small difference. So what's one of the biggest drivers behind these trends? It's something super simple, but so profound. Sleep, or rather, the lack of it. That blue light from our screens messes with our melatonin, making it harder to fall asleep. But it's more than just the light. It's the what-ifs, the anxiety of missing out, the buzz of another notification that keeps the brain wired and alert. It creates this vicious cycle: lose sleep, gain anxiety, which makes it even harder to sleep. but here's the thing. This story is not a one-size-fits-all deal. The impact of these devices changes dramatically based on who you are and where you live. So let's explore some of these key dividing lines that change the picture completely. As we just saw, gender creates these vastly different pathways of risk. For girls and young women, the harms of social media tend to be internalizing. Think social comparison, body image issues, depression. The damage is often turned inward. For boys, on the other hand, the risks are often more externalizing. Things like compulsive gaming, attention problems, and a retreat from the real world into digital spaces. And geography is just as big a factor. If you're a kid in a big city, you might be drowning in sensory overload. The constant connectivity, the noise, the pressure, it's a recipe for anxiety and FOMO. But if you're a kid in a rural area, you face a totally different set of problems. You might have less connectivity, but that can lead to intense social isolation, with far fewer mental health resources to turn to when things get tough. So, after looking at all this evidence, you might be feeling a little overwhelmed. And that's fair. But the critical question is, how do we move forward? This isn't about throwing our phones in the river. It's about being more intentional and building a healthier, more human relationship with our technology. You know, creating a better digital culture is a team sport. It requires all of us. For parents, it really starts with modeling the behavior you want to see. Setting firm boundaries, like device-free dinners or bedrooms, isn't just about rules. It's about teaching the value of being present. For educators, it means going beyond just teaching kids how to use the tech and teaching them how the tech is designed to use them. And for policymakers, it's about making sure that when someone is struggling, they can actually get help, no matter what their zip code is. And that really brings us to the final thought. While we absolutely need these bigger systemic changes, the power to shift our relationship with technology really starts with each and every one of us. In the end, protecting your attention, your real-world connections, and your own peace of mind might be the most important challenge of our time. And the choice of how you engage is ultimately a choice about the kind of life you want to live.